Hi everyone, my name is Andrew Leland, and my analytical report is the best place for me to move to in San Diego. So recently I've been thinking about moving somewhere and I want to stay local in San Diego, so for my presentation I decided to find the best place to live in San Diego. So obviously there are a lot of cities in San Diego, right? A bunch. So I decided to narrow it down to like five major cities to really focus on. And so the five major cities are the first one is San Diego, like the city of San Diego, and densely populated city. Surprisingly, it's actually the eighth most populous city in the U.S., which I always thought San Diego was kind of small. So I don't know, that kind of surprised me. The second city I decided to look at is Chula Vista. Chula Vista is near San Diego, right? It's kind of to the east south of San Diego. It's really close, more inland, and obviously a lot closer to the border. And so that was my other one I decided to check out. The third option I decided to look at was Oceanside. Oceanside is definitely the northmost. It's on the coast still, but it's super to the north, and it's basically the last city you see before you hit Camp Pendleton. The fourth city I looked at was Escondido, and Escondido is definitely the most inland out of all the ones I'm looking at. Most of the cities I'm looking at are on the coast except for Escondido. It's very inland compared to the others. And the final city I decided to look at is Carlsbad. Now, Carlsbad is pretty important. It's on the coast, but also it's where I grew up, so I thought that'd be a really good one to look at for this one, to compare. So my criteria points, the first one, and the most important one, is rent price, right? No matter how nice a city is, if I can't afford it, then obviously I can't live there. So that's definitely the most important one. The second criteria that I looked at was crime rate, to see how much crime rate a city has. I think that's just like a good classic thing to look at when deciding where to live. I also wanted to focus specifically on violent crime rate, so that's another thing to focus on. For my third point, I decided to look at commuting time. So right now my job is in Encinitas, right off the 5. And so I wanted to make sure, because obviously commute's important, you do it like every day, or almost every day. And so I wanted to make sure that my commute isn't too bad, right? So the winner of that would have the shortest, easiest commute. So for my fourth point, I'm going to look at the transportation and walkability score of each city. So I found this website that gave each city a score on its walkability, bikeability, and kind of like bus and transit score. And I wanted to see which city is kind of one out of those. And for my final point is opinions. I basically found a bunch of opinion pieces that ranked all the cities, and whichever cities ranked the highest on average would win this point. So my first criteria point, the most important one, is rent. So Carlsbad, definitely the highest rent at about $3,000 on average. And San Diego is the second highest at about $2,900. Both of those are really high average rent. And the lowest is Escondido at about $2,100. And that's a pretty big range. That's almost $1,000 between Carlsbad the highest and Escondido the lowest, which kind of surprised me how big of a range that is. But yeah, Oceanside, Chula Vista, and Escondido all kind of had lower rent prices among the others, and Carlsbad and San Diego were definitely the highest. So Oceanside, Chula Vista, and Escondido are definitely the ones that I'm going to be focusing on, but Carlsbad and San Diego definitely had the highest. So my second criteria is crime rate. Now, crime rate's pretty important. Out of the cities, Escondido, Oceanside, and San Diego were about tied, and they both had the highest crime rate. So they were tied for the most. They also had about the same rent price as well. The lowest crime rate, which actually really surprised me, was Chula Vista. Chula Vista had the second lowest rent, but it had the lowest crime rate by kind of a lot, which really surprised me. Carlsbad was the second lowest, but it had the lowest violent crime rate. But again, the winner of this, definitely Chula Vista, although Carlsbad is a close second, and Escondido, Oceanside, San Diego all kind of had the same in terms of losing. So my third criteria is commute, right? Commute's important. You don't want to be commuting crazy every day. So the loser for this one is definitely Chula Vista. It had about a 37-minute commute. And also Chula Vista is because right now I'm working in Encinitas, right? So you basically have to go through San Diego City. It's really complex, a lot of changes, freeway. It's just kind of a pain to get from there to where I work. So it's definitely the loser. Carlsbad and Oceanside, definitely the winners, right? They were both about below 20 minutes for commute time, and also both of those, I basically would just get on the freeway and get off, and I'm there. So it's super easy. compared to the other ones. Escondido and San Diego are both long and difficult. Escondido in particular, because you have to go through back roads to get to my work. But overall, Chula Vista is the loser, and Carlsbad and Oceanside are both the winners in this criteria. So for my fourth criteria, transportation and walkability. So each one kind of got a score, right? And each score, it's like added up between three criteria. So San Diego won by a lot, which isn't too surprising considering it's a city. San Diego had a score of 133 points, right? And it also had the highest score in both walkability, bikeability, and transit. So it won in all three categories. Carlsbad was the lowest, which surprised me at 83. Carlsbad had one of the highest rents, so it kind of surprised me that it has such a low score. Oceanside had 105, Escondido had 115, and Chula Vista had 122, right? So San Diego, Chula Vista are like the winners here, and Oceanside and Carlsbad are the losers. They have the worst like walkability score. And for my final criteria, I looked at opinions, right? So I looked at a bunch of articles, opinion pieces where people would rank all the San Diego cities. Now, one thing to note is because each article ranked like every San Diego city, all 5 of the cities that I looked at tended to rank pretty high. So like, even though, well, Escondido is the loser out of the 5, but even though Escondido got the worst ranked out of the 5, Escondido still tended to get a pretty good score compared to every San Diego city. That being said, Escondido and Chula Vista definitely had the worst scores, and Carlsbad and San Diego had the best. Carlsbad in particular, really good. It ranked on average at about 1.5, like super, super low. A lot of people love Carlsbad, so that was definitely the winner as far as opinions go. So finally, which city is the best city? I would have to go with Chula Vista, right? Specifically, Chula Vista has super low rent, and despite its low rent, it has very low crime rate and really, really good walkability score. Even though its opinion wasn't very good, again, opinion, all the cities tend to rank good on opinions, but the one that's a really problem is the commute. You know, a 37 commute is a really big pain to do twice a day, right? But I think I can look that over just considering how low rent prices is and how good the crime rate was. So overall, I would definitely have to say that Chula Vista overall won out of this analytical report. And thank you for watching.